just see?
One part in it. You know your part.
We're here to break down this scene of Daemon Targaryen having that most popular vision. See, this vision was prolific. It was breaking down the future. At the beginning, we see Alice Rivers at Harrenhal. We don't know if she's a green seer, but she seems as though she's a vessel, a pawn of a much bigger plan. She tells Daemon, all you need to see is here where he touches the tree. What's the first thing he sees when he touches the tree? The three-eyed raven. This scene, this pinnacle scene is so big and monumental because there's so much in this. The three-eyed raven happens to be Brandon Rivers. Another brand, but this Brandon Rivers is so important. The three-eyed raven, of course, is wrapped in that tree, and he has the connection to see the future and the past. Per se, majority of the time it's the past. He connects with Daemon and allows Daemon to see the future. And this is just amazing. This is absolutely amazing. Because what's so important about this is that Brandon Rivers is a descendant funny enough, Daemon Targaryen. So Daemon Targaryen is like his great-grandfather. So you can imagine there's a link between the two. He's kind of like humbling his great-grandfather, saying, oh, you think all this ego stuff you're doing means something? All this battle that you're trying to claim this and be this and idol this? Nah. Your purpose is for a much greater future. You just have to know what your purpose and mission is. And that's so important. It's so important. That's something I really want to touch upon. Because what it literally shows is that what's important is your purpose. You play a role to a much bigger scale of things. And once you know what that role is, you see what your purpose is. Your purpose is never, ever, ever, and not to go too deep, to see the greater ego in yourself that fuse into nothing, but something that lasts past your own life. And that's literally what Brandon Rivers was trying to show Daemon. Now, as he's able to connect and with help with Alice Rivers, Daemon starts to see a lot through the three-eyed raven. He sees a battle. Now, it could be any battle. We don't know per se what particular battle this could be, but we see people falling. And most importantly, we see the dragons falling. The dragons themselves fall. Now, they only show about 1 or 2 dragons, but this really is symbolic. It symbolizes the fall of the dragons, the extinction of the dragons. This could, of course, if for those who know from the books, Fire and Blood books, we know definitely that after the Dance of the Dragons, all dragons are getting killed. This is such a most crucial aspect of the whole show, the whole franchise per se. The dragons getting cooked and the dragons all dying and getting extinct, and we know that will happen. I think the last dragon was Aegon III, who was their child, both Rhaenyra and Daemon's child. This will be the last dragon. And after that, that's it. No more dragons for a long time, which we're about to lead into what will be the next dragon. But after the extinction of dragons, what comes out? We see Daemon, he's falling. We don't know, where he's falling. We'll touch on that. But after all the dragons fall, what comes? The White Walkers. Now, just when you need all the dragons to be there, they're not there. The White Walkers come. Winter is coming. And you see they don't choose the Night King per se, but they show the White Walkers coming. And this is what, in the vision that Aegon saw, a song of ice and fire. This is the vision. This is the big battle. This is what everybody needs to unite for. Because the dead is what can potentially wipe out everyone in Westeros. Everybody wiped out. So you see why the death of the dragons dying, leading up to the White Walkers. You can see, oh no, this is a big issue because those dragons would be enough to clear them all out if need be. Well, we say that, but I guess if you turn one dragon into a dead dragon, then that can go west as well. But putting that aside, then before how of course we see Daemon falling. Now this is very, very, very interesting. Daemon falling, Daemon looking like he's drowning. I think this is interesting because in the books we're not quite sure what is the actual end of Daemon, and it really, we don't see no body, and if you don't see no body, we don't know where that goes. You can actually start a spin-off with not seeing nobody. If there's no actual body dead to see, you don't know where if someone's dead or just disappeared. And maybe this was what this drowning scene is showing. Or maybe it's the fact that it's showing the fall per se of Daemon. Like, Daemon, you're falling. There's nothing much to see. But you know what's interesting about all of this? You see a comet. This was just like, you have to capture all this because this was so important. That comet is the same comet that you see in Game of Thrones. Around the time where the Hatch of the Dragons in season 1. Episode 10, we had the Hatch of the Dragons. Those dragons are hatched. The birth of new dragons. But at the same time, the comet, you see that everyone else sees these comets and they think it means maybe new age. All these symbolic meanings for what the comet may mean. But it was around that particular period. And what happens after that? What do they show? They show the dragons. The dragons that are shown in being hatched. You can see that in Game of Thrones season 1. The time where we see that full-on ritual that Daenerys participates in. And a birth of new dragons. And this is such a big thing. Especially for Daemon, who definitely always feels as though the Targaryens are made due to the dragons. So when you see the Hatch of Dragons, what you see after that? The Mother of Dragons. Oh, this was such a big scene to see. People question why is it we see the Mother of Dragons and we don't see Jon Snow, if all these different answers of this and that. But, what we take this as is the prince who was promised, or the princess who was promised, which is Daenerys Targaryen, to unite ice and fire, unite the realm, unite them against what we know is the big battle, the long night, fighting the dead, the White Walkers. And it's such a big scene because it makes us see how huge and pinnacle Daenerys Targaryen is. We knew that already, but just seeing her in House of the Dragons just makes this thing such a bigger monumental thing, A prequel hyping up a sequel that you've already watched, it's always amazing. We've seen it in Star Wars, we've seen it in Lord of the Rings. Like when they start doing the prequels and they start hyping what we've already watched, it's such an artistic way of viewing things. An artistic perspective is like you're going back in time to see the future that you already know. So them being able to see the Mother of Dragons in this whole thing in general is amazing. And then, after you see hope, because what you see from that is hope, you then see who on the crown? You see Rhaenyra Targaryen. And this is absolutely everything to Daemon. Daemon starts realizing, oh, so it ain't me. It's definitely the wife. It's the one who was made heir by his own brother. All of this was shown to him. And he saw Rhaenyra Targaryen on the throne. And then after that, it just propels to Helena. Now it's, at first you might not grasp it. Why is it a big deal to see Helena? You might not even grasp why. Because it's like, Helena? Like, why Helena? She has what they call dragon dreams. She's able to see the past and she's able to see the future. And she's able to communicate even in real time. And they show her kind of communicating in real time. And to me, that was odd. Given the fact that, from the opposing side, it kind of shocked me, but it showed her purpose and her power within the family. She's able to see the future. She's able to see, it's crazy. And she's able to communicate that with Damon and saying, yeah, like, bro, there's a bigger purpose to all of this that we're doing. And we really hope that they really hone into that going forward for season 3, season 4, this whole big purpose, because I think this, of course, shifted Daemon. And right after that, Daemon went humbled. Bro was humbled. He was really humbled, and he realized what he was there to do. And he took the opportunity to then go to Rhaenyra and said, "You are my queen because I've seen the vision." And this was somebody who hated talking about vision. You saw what he did to Rhaenyra when she started talking about vision. She said, don't be like your father, King Viserys, my own brother. He was just seeing visions. He thought that was a crazy thing. He became that, to the point where Rhaenyra was asking him, "You're talking like my father right now," because he saw it. He saw the vision, which he needed to see. Because if he needed to see that vision, I don't think he would have really believed anything at all. And it really shows the greater purpose. And I think it'll be interesting to see what they do with season 3. Well, yes, so this is going to be huge, monumental. So definitely we'll see where we go with season 3, 4. I believe season 4 maybe could be potentially we finally see the death of Rhaenyra. She's the main character, so the question really is, will she die in season 3? Will she will she die in season 4? Will it continue? I believe it's supposed to be her dying in season 4. I think that's what they might end it like that. They might not. You got 3, 4 seasons. You got 2 more seasons for now. Another thing is, will they stick to the books? I believe they will. They may change a few things. We don't know. But right now, it's amazing to see. We'll see where it really holds for us. And guys, I've got more breakdowns, requests. Make sure you like, comment, share. Also, just make sure definitely you subscribe.